morning, I look at the relationship that I had with my father and all the ups and downs that we went through. And there was a dark time in my life when I resented my father because he pursued me in my addiction. He was relentless. He didn't give up. He kept chasing after me and begging me to stop and to try and to just give up the drugs and accept the help that was offered to me. And I refused for many, many years. And I grew to resent him. And I lost respect for him. And all these things that were really good things that were gone. They were taken away from me by my addiction, the darkness that came with it. And as I think about my journey into recovery, my dad was the last person I saw before I got on the plane to come to Teen Challenge. He sat in my house with me after I hid from the world for 3 or 4 days using drugs. And I finally let him in, and he said, whatever it takes, if you accept this help, if you go, I'll take care of everything in your life. I'll clean out your house. I'll move all your stuff into storage. Don't worry about anything. Your truck, your life, everything that I thought I had to take care of, that I said, I need time. He said, no, I'll just take care of it. Just get on the plane and go today. And I went, and my life hasn't been the same since. And I thank God every day because the darkness that I was in was so awful. And I'm so grateful for my parents, my father, that he loved me enough to just keep saying yes and not giving up. I wouldn't be here today without it. So yeah, Father's Day is a really special time for me. This is maybe the second Father's Day that I called my dad in the morning and told him I loved him. I forgot every other time. It's his birthday this past week, and I called him on his birthday, and it's just like God has restored so much goodness in my life with the relationships with my family, and I'm so grateful every day. And so, that's a little bit about fathers, but my name is Zach. I'm a leader at Teen Challenge. I've been working with them for a couple years now, doing outreach and coming to churches and talking about our organization and what we do. Who in this room is familiar with Adult and Teen Challenge? Hands up. If you hear about us, you know what we do. I see many familiar faces, people that come out to our visit days, and we come out here on Tuesdays. But if you don't know anything about us, or you haven't heard, or this is maybe your first time, Adult and Teen Challenge is a year-long discipleship, restoration, recovery program for men and women who are struggling with life-controlling addictions. And we are here on behalf of the Okanagan Men's Center, which is a men's center with space for about 20 guys, located in Lake Country, BC. And we've been here for a while, for over 10 years. And Teen Challenge was started in the 50s by David Wilkerson back there in that big poster. If you've read The Cross and the Switchblade, you know the story. If you haven't read it, we've got some condensed versions for you if you want to read a shorter version of it. But the main idea is that he sold his TV. He got rid of his TV and spent time every night in prayer. And in one of those moments of prayer, he saw these boys on trial for murder in New York City, these young boys, teenage boys. And it was just so clear to him. And God spoke to him and said, like, these boys matter. Their lives matter. The world is giving up on them. But I haven't given up on them. And so Pastor Dave Wilkerson went to New York City to try and bring the good news of Jesus Christ to these boys. And he had lots of challenges, like we do. And he got kicked out of the courtroom over and over again. And he spent time in the streets. And he developed a relationship with gang members and people that were trapped in addiction and trapped in a life of crime and hopelessness and darkness. And out of that, the first Teen Challenge Center was born as a place for him and his workers to meet and gather and to go out and spread the good news and to evangelize. And it's grown. We've grown immeasurably since then. 1,400 centers, over 1,400 centers in over 120 nations that are not Canada. So Teen Challenge, God is working through Teen Challenge all over the world. We're not just here, but we are here this morning because we're in your community, and we want you to know, and everybody that you know and your friends and your family to know that there is help. There is an option when all those doors seem to be closing in addiction, like they were for me, like they were for every guy that's with me here this morning. Everybody in the choir there has come out of addiction. This is not like we didn't hire any singers or anything like that. This is, we're here because all the doors had closed because we were hopeless and lost and broken in our addictions. And so Teen Challenge stands against the idea that once an addict, always an addict. We stand firmly behind the power of Jesus Christ to transform lives, to set us free from bondage, to set us free from shame and guilt and the stuff that drags us down and holds us back, and the voice that says you're not good enough, you're never going to be good enough, give up. Because that's where I was, that's where each of these guys was. I looked at in the mirror when I was 21 years old, and I saw a person that I didn't recognize, and I said, it's too late, dig your grave and lie down in it. And I believed it. I really believed it. And so many of us, not just us in addiction, have experienced that hopelessness, that feeling of it's too late, it's too far gone, I'll never get it back. My life is not worth living. And every day in our ministry, we see lives changed and transformed. We see fathers restored as fathers, sons restored as sons, husbands as husbands, and children to parents that love them so much and that didn't give up. And it's an incredible thing. Our program is structured in lots of ways, and if you talk to the guys, you hear things like, there are a lot of rules. It's considered a very disciplined, structured program. One of the most challenging. Guys can't smoke. There's no computers. There's no TV. They watch one movie a week. There's 1 hour per day of free time. But we don't even call it free time. We call it time management, because there's things that they maybe should be doing with that time, so we want to encourage them to manage their time well. But it's a very structured program. There's a lot of sacrifice coming in, and it's really hard. I remember the fear in me as I drove up the driveway thinking like, wow, I'm really going to do this, right? And you guys know that feeling, right? It's a big step to unplug from life. Even though life was messy, really messy, it's still a big step. So I'm really proud of every one of them and commend them for taking that step. Just being here, guys, it's awesome. Yeah. And our program is busy. We have a lot of stuff going on. The guys work 4 days a week in the community for different contractors doing stuff like that, and all the money that they raise goes towards their stay. We have classes in the evenings, classes on the weekends. We have a chapel on Wednesday mornings. There's lots of different things. The guys go to churches on Saturday night. They go to Trinity in Kelowna, and we do these outreaches all the time. And we're growing, and we want to grow more into the community and be more involved in the community, serving and evangelizing and spreading the good news and sharing our testimonies. And this morning, that's why we're here. Teen Challenge comes once a year mostly to churches to share about what's going on with us, but we're sharing our stories of how God has saved us and how he's restored our lives and how he's given us hope. And so this morning, my hope is that you'll hear from as many guys as we have time for. You guys interested in something like that? Yeah. So we've got students who are approaching graduation. Chris and Jordan are just over a month away from graduating, so they've been with us for a year or just about a year or even longer. And we've got men here that have been here for a few weeks. Corey, how long have you been here? 2.5 weeks. Awesome. Do you want to come up first? Yeah. Put you on the spot. So, Corey, we just a few minutes. You want to share with everybody what your life was like before Teen Challenge and what coming in was like?
Yeah, for sure. Thank you. This is kind of new for me, but I'm a pastor's kid. I was raised in a Salvation Army officer's home from the age of 7. Before that, I was in the ministry, so bouncing around foster homes. I gave my life over to God, not knowing what I was really doing. It was in my home, so it was kind of accustomed to me to, go to church every Sunday and be a part of my church community. I was kind of sheltered in private schools in elementary school, so I didn't really get a taste of what society had in store for me when I hit high school. Once high school hit, it was like a big shocker. There was people were swearing constantly, and there was, Satan was trying to take hold of a lot of these kids' lives, and I just slipped right into it. And once he had his talons in me, I got scared of my adoption parents because, I was getting grounded a lot, and I was being taken away from what they thought was going to take me down, and they were only trying to protect me. I left home when I was 15. I went and found my birth mom. and she had just become a pastor, so she was pretty fresh into it, and she wanted to love me, so she was giving me the freedoms to do what I wanted to do, and me, I lied my way through it all, telling her, I was okay. I was just hanging out with my friends when I was out partying and drinking, and all the uh, being around women, it just sucked me in, and I wanted to be loved and appreciated by everybody, so I tried to fit in everywhere I went. As I got older, I stopped going to school. I just, I didn't want to get up. I was too tired from the weekends and partying, and so I stopped going to school, and I left my mom's home and tried living for myself. I tried selling stuff to make my way by. I got a job and lost that job. Got another one, lost that one. Right, nothing was really working. And by the time by the time I hit majority, age 18, 19, I'd already made a self-destructive path where my family didn't know if I was lying or what I was, they didn't know what I was doing, and they didn't know what to believe. So I needed to do something. I tried multiple rehabilitation centers, not Christian-based, and those didn't really work out for me. I just slipped right back into it. And, eventually, I just, I had given up on all my options, trying to ask my parents for help, and they just wanted me to learn on my own how to, come back to God. And I ran into a guy that was friends with somebody that had graduated the program and turned into a director, Jason. Jason's friend Randy, and he told me about Teen Challenge, and so I thought I'd give it a shot, and I gave it a shot for about a couple months. This was last year, and I thought I figured it all out, and I thought I had God on my, I was living for God and not letting God live in me, and that's where I went wrong, right? So I left. I had a son. He was a year at the time, so I was like, I was really worried about bonding with him, and I left under the notion that I would be able to build my relationship with him, and God didn't want that. He wanted to build a relationship with me so that I could be the best person I could for my son. And yeah, I kind of hit a new rock bottom when I left, being held up in a hotel, and doing anything I could to feel better about myself, and know that I put God on a shelf again. And just recently, about a month and a half ago, I gave up on my old habits, and I totally let go of the reins, and I asked God if He could guide me somewhere, wherever He wanted me, I'd follow Him, and He guided me right back to Okanagan Teen Challenge. And I came in the doors this time, and I just, I said, okay, God, you know what, I'm going to let go of the reins, and you look after my family, you look after, my son, and if need be, I'll walk through the streets and praise your name, as long as I, get to build myself back up with you. And a couple days ago, funny enough, I've been praying to be able to see my son over Skype while I'm at the center, and my son's mom and I had a conversation. She's going to send me papers so I can bond with him over Skype, and it's like answered prayers, right? If you do what He wants for you in the good, things will happen. And I'm just happy to be here. I'm happy to finally get everything back together. It's awesome. Thank you.
I remember that looking back at my life and my addiction, and I thought, deep down inside, I'm like, I'm a good guy. I always believed. I knew what it meant to be a good guy and to be nice and to be kind and loving, but my actions were so far from that, and it's such a difficult thing to experience, as you have this idea of who you want to be, and yet your behavior is on the polar opposite. And this a big part of coming through this program is lining that behavior back up, and I watch it happen. I know, because I know it's in you, Corey. You see it in your eyes, right? You know, and it's just like you're here for a reason. You're here to learn and to grow and to start to walk that walk out. So yeah, really happy for you, proud of you, Julian. Yeah, why don't you come up? Julian's only been here for a month. He hasn't spoken before, but I asked him if he could just share like a minute or two about what his life was like before and his experience since he's come in.
Thanks, Zach. I just got here about a month ago. I grew up single mom. My dad left when I was very young, and I didn't see him or know him until I was an adult, pretty much. So, mom worked full time. I was the youngest of 4 kids, so there was a lot of, there wasn't much discipline or formal, like having dinner together or anything. I could just kind of roam around, do whatever I wanted, I felt like. And I got into drugs at an early age. About 11 or 12, I was doing drugs and drinking. And high school, I just wouldn't go to school very much. I'd skip a lot and hang out with the older kids. I always tended to hang around the older guys and stuff, and get into trouble. And I felt like I was a bad kid. Like, I felt like that's how everybody viewed me. So I kind of took on that role, and I don't know. That's who I thought I was meant to be, and get into trouble and just do bad things. And that was who I accepted I was. Then I did manage to graduate high school, and I was good. I was into sports a lot, so that was an outlet for me. I did get an injury, a significant injury, when I was after high school in my 20s, my early 20s. So that affected me. So my identity, kind of where I could excel and escape on the rugby field or the soccer field, that I couldn't do that anymore. So that kind of further mentally just I don't know. I had to seek another escape, pretty much, and I continue. I got into harder drugs, and then I got into a relationship with a girl, and she had a daughter, and things were going good. Like, it was a family unit, and I think that's what I was looking for the whole time. I felt I was in a family, and that's kind of how I did. I was happy, but then it just, after about 6 or 7 years, I knew something was, it wasn't right, because I wasn't in love with her anymore, and that was, so anyways, I kind of left that. When I left that 2 years ago, left that relationship, things really went downhill, because I wasn't used to being alone again, and that feeling of alone it crushed me. And every day after work, I didn't know what else to do other than to go to the drug house and just do drugs. And then I couldn't keep up my job, obviously, because I've been up for days and days. So I was a third-year apprentice. Well, I still am, but I couldn't keep that up because people were noticing, and my abilities just weren't as good. And so anyways, it got so painful for me. Like, just living every day was painful. I really didn't have any hope in myself. I became homeless. I wanted to die. Like, day to day was just getting too hard for me, and I didn't really see a way out at all. I kept on looking throughout my whole life. I've been looking outside myself for something to make me feel better, but I've never looked at God before. I didn't grow up Christian. This is all new to me. But I have been to a couple other treatment centers, and I learned a lot about recovery. I've learned a lot about addiction, but that wasn't enough. It wasn't enough. Something inside me is still empty, right? And in the last year, I've heard the name Teen Challenge like 4 or 5 times from different people, and every time, the first few times, I was like, what, like a year long? No way. Like, and going to church and all that, like, no. Like, I thought I could do it my way, right? I really thought I could still do it my way. I had hoped that I could, but after another failed attempt, I finally just said, my life is just going downhill. I'm going to die like so many of these people that I've seen. Like, I've seen people die. I've just, like, it's happening all over the place. And I'm not going to lie to myself and tell me it's not going to be me one day, right? So I felt like this is the last door. I tried to put it off and say, no, I don't have to do it. But, I was nervous coming in here, but I'm super happy. I think this is the only like I just feel like I have hope now. Like there is a belief inside me now that I can live, you know, a life with some joy. Maybe, you know, it's possible, and it's just starting to come around. And just having the family, like I feel like a family, you know, with all the guys in the house. Like it's something that I haven't had, like ever really, and it's just it's really nice. It's like I'm coming home or something, you know, and it's working. It's doing something inside me. So, you know, I'm just open and I'm going with it, and I'm just super happy that I'm here. So yeah.
The loneliness in addiction is so desperate and sad, Julian. I know the feeling, and I was looking for a family too, you know. And I remember sitting before I came to Teen Challenge, sitting on my couch, hiding with the window shades drawn in, and I had this thought that you're never going to be a father if you keep this up. And I knew from when I was like 12 years old. I looked at my dad and I loved him so much, and I said, I'm going to be just like you. I want to be a father. I can't wait to have kids. And here I was, 29 years old, you know, or 28 years old, sitting alone in my house, you know, high on drugs, thinking, you know, it's never going to happen. It's never going to happen. The thing that I wanted so deeply was never going to happen. And so that led me to make a step. And Julian, like the brotherhood and the family, I mean, there's nothing quite like it. We long for community when we're out of it. And addiction takes us out of community. It takes us out of our families. It takes us out of our relationships. It takes us out of every sincere, meaningful, intimate thing that we have, and places us alone, and our heart cries out for that. It cries out for love, for acceptance and community, relationship with people and relationship with God. And until we take that step out, you know, it doesn't change. It just goes deeper and deeper into addiction. And I know that from my own experience, that it's just like something happened for me when I came to the Teen Challenge. And I wasn't a believer. I didn't believe in God when I came in, but I was met with this loving family that accepted me as I was. And I started to listen to the things they said about me. I started to listen about who they said I was instead of what I was thinking about myself. And I started to listen and read in the Bible who God says I am. And every message and every sermon and every teaching that was revealing these things to me. And it's like, I've got it wrong. I don't really know who I am. I'm listening to a lot of lies about my identity and what value I have, and it dragged me down. And so I started to listen and started to believe and accept the love that was being offered to me by this community. And through that, I experienced the love of God in an amazing, profound way. And so, Julian, I know that experience, and I'm so happy for you. You are part of our family, right? These guys, we love you, we care about you, and we're here for you. We want to see you succeed, and that's the truth. We really do. Now, we got so many guys that I want to get up here, so I got to keep moving. Sam, are you sure? Awesome.
Hi, how's it going? Happy Father's Day. Hey, thanks, buddy. Thanks, guys. My name's Samuel Zachariah Wensfort. I'm born here in Penticton. I just want to say how encouraged I am with the support of my family. You know who you are. You guys, my brothers, love you guys. I mean, and how good it is to just, you know, look at the hills again with being clean, you know, look at the mountains with a clear conscience, and it's just great, man. I mean, I usually talk about loss, right? I'm going to talk about it. I don't like to really talk about the bad things, but I'm just going to give you a brief summary. It's just hard to talk about it because I got a whole bunch of my family here today, right? And I mean, that's not loss at all. It's gain. And but I guess we can always thank places for Adult and Teen Challenger or Okanagan Correctional Center, OCC, right? Even if it is jail. I mean, places like that, institutions, they give you a time to think, to you know, sit back and just, you know, do yourself, do me, you know, and so you can be better for your family, for life, you know, your kids, whatever, right? It's just better than, you know, everyone needs help is what I'm trying to say. So we live in a very good country, and you know, I was always a rebel. I always I hate cops. I don't hate them anymore. I'm just saying I always hated cops. I always hated authority. Okay, just recently I read Romans 13. I asked the Lord, why didn't I read Romans 13 years ago? It tells us about how authority's been put there by him how, it's all been put there. It's all there, man. In the Bible, it tells us how to live. It tells us, it's all there, man. Everything. Oaths, authority. It's all there, man. It's just crazy. I'm reading it last week. I'm like I'm 37, man. I didn't know about this. I've already got 3 or 4 tours of jail under my belt. This is crazy. And but yeah, going back to loss. It's hard for me to talk. I got so much of my family here today. I'm so blessed and so happy. I love you guys, man. I love everybody here. This is great. I lost my father when I was 11. That was my buddy, man. Right, the oldest out of 7. Right, my dad had there's 5 of us on my mom's side. Then my dad had 2 other kids, so that's 7 to me, right? And that's a pretty big family. But he was my bud. Like I go visit him every summer, and he'd be just switching to those gears in his logging truck, right? And there'd be sheer cliff on one side, and be just ripping, laughing, and I'm sitting there in the seat, man. It's like a kid, Dad, and he's laughing. What's on your mind, son, right? And I'd be like, Dad, slow down, man. And I'd always get mad at him for saying that, always get mad at him for asking me what's on my mind. And I wish I'd go back and I would have told him it was on my mind, because I didn't know I was going to lose him, right? You don't know what you got till it's gone, right? That's so true, right? And that's why I call it the present, because we're in the present, right? It's a present to be here. And even today I'm learning, I was just sitting here and all of a sudden my family walked through the door, I'm just so encouraged today. So encouraged to be here. It's just great. I've walked these streets outside these doors for years, man, praying under streetlights, wondering, is there something better? And then something like Romans 13 last week comes along, and it's just life can change like that. But going back to my father, right? Every boy needs a father in my eyes. Every boy needs a father. You don't have a father, man, you just don't know what to do, right? And that was my issue. And when my dad died, it didn't really hit me until we went to the funeral. And like I said, I don't want to talk about the bad things. I'll just give you a brief summary. But I remember walking up to his casket, and I lifted up his big hand, and then I let it, I held it up, and then I let it drop. And when his hand hit the, it just hit with no life. That was it, man. My world just, right? So just a rebel, man. I got into a lot of drugs, and I don't want to get into it, right? We all know it's all bad. And 2014 in January, I lost my wife to suicide. I lost my mummy, our mummy, maybe 2.5 years, right? But God's a good shepherd, right? He can heal. He can. You just got to have faith, right? And I know my family don't want nothing to do with me, because I'm not really the best person to be around when I'm using. It's all about me, right? But he can heal, man, and he can do things that you would never, ever think. And I'm standing, living here testimony of it. Like Israel said, one of our grads, if he can do it, it's like me. If I can do it, we all can do it. It's possible, man. But I just want to tell you a couple more things, and I don't want to waste any more of your time. But I lost my son to the ministry, and in the summer. And I kind of went on a little bender and ended up in jail. And so on April 3rd, when I got released out on bail, my auntie drove me to Teen Challenge. She's bugging me to go there for years, man. I was always telling her, it's for teens, right? It's for teens, man. I'm an adult, right? But here I am, right? So she drove me there. I'm 2.5 months in, and, things have changed. Things are so good. I just want to thank you for my brothers, man. Julian's my little dish buddy. We do dishes together, and we play the circle game. If anybody knows that game. I got us all playing it, and we just, it's a good, got me. It's a good place, and I just want to say that God is good, right? And happy Father's Day, and God bless.
Thanks, Sam. Sam says, I love you to me more than anybody else in the program, and it's really special. Yeah, because I know you mean it. And I love you too. Yeah. It's awesome to see your family here with you. It's so huge. The restoration that I experienced is one of the most powerful experiences that I had as I stepped out of addiction and into a relationship with God. The relationships with my family were handed back into my life. And it's amazing. It's amazing. It's powerful. Colin, come on up.
Hi, everyone. Happy Father's Day. Today is special to me. My father is 15 more years sober than I am. So he wasn't really there when I was growing up either. I'm 28 years old. And he was the biggest factor in me coming to Teen Challenge after my life was going downhill real fast. And I realize now I have to go through this because I have 3 children on my own, 9, 6, and 5. So it means a lot for me to sit here and say that today on this Father's Day, my children still have a father. And if I didn't come to Teen Challenge, they might not have. I've been here for 2.5 months, and it's been amazing. Yeah, I have lots of family in Vernon, which is where I grew up, which is lots of support. But they're a phone call away. But I got a lot of family here, and it's awesome. Like these brothers, you sleep beside them, and you eat breakfast beside them, and you pass gas beside each other, and you do everything. There's, you're with each other nonstop, and it's awesome. Yeah, you can't really hide from that. And something God's been speaking on my heart, which the last week or two, which has been good for Father's Day, is discipline. Because it's usually a father who gives you the most discipline. My mom used to say, "You wait till your dad gets home." When I was young and I was scared. But God's shown me, so I always thought it was a negative thing. Growing up, I was like, I know how to respect authority, but I don't need discipline. Discipline's a negative thing. Don't discipline me because that means I'm a bad boy and I'm perfect. I don't do anything wrong, was my mindset. But then I read some things the past couple weeks. I think it's Proverbs 10 maybe says that he who heeds discipline has life. And then elsewhere in the Bible it says a father disciplines his son out of love. So that got me thinking there for a minute. I'm going, love and life, those aren't negative things. Those are good things. And then something opened up to me. It was just yesterday morning, I think I was reading, and the word discipline is has direct correlation to disciple, which is follower of Christ. So then I thought and go, then yeah, you have to submit to discipline, and discipline is life and respecting authority over you. And God is my authority. He's been in my heart my whole life. I was a Christian growing up, but I never really gave my heart to him, I guess. I thought I did. That's why I thought it was perfect. I don't need discipline because I have God on my side. So yeah, that's been speaking to me a lot the last week or two. Yeah, and the authority at Teen Challenge is very strict for the most part. But the best thing, and they've shown me, is it's all out of love. No one's here to they don't abuse their authority. They don't do it because they wanna catch you doing bad things. They do it because they love you, and that is a direct example of what God's love is for us. And that's just what I have to share for you today. Is no matter how young or old you are, that God disciplines you because He loves you, and that's it. Thanks.
We're not that strict. No, but you are right, Colin. When we talk about our rules and we have meetings as a team, we're asking ourselves a question, why? What's the spirit behind this? And if we can't figure out why or what, because it's all about growth. It's all about life transformation. And we have a year or maybe a little bit longer in some guys' cases if they need a little bit more time with us. But it's not that much time in the big picture. In a life of 12 years of addiction, 1 year in a program. You got to get as much in as you can. And so we really look at helping guys bring awareness to their life, to their behaviors, and to start to walk out that path as a godly man. As in the way that inside you can. It's just like we got to learn how to walk it out. So thanks for sharing, Colin. That's awesome. I'm really excited to see you restored as a father in your kids' lives, and the future that you have with them is going to be so amazing. Tyler, come on up. We're just going through the list.
Thanks. Hi, my name's Tyler Ponto. I'm from Regina, Saskatchewan. I'm 30 years old. And yeah, a little bit about my life. First time I had a cigarette, I was 8 years old. By the time I was 10, I was addicted to cigarettes. 12 years old, I moved on to things a little stronger, alcohol, marijuana. By the time I got to high school, grade 10, I had a group of friends, and we would drink, 3 or 4 times a week. By the time I was 16, it was an everyday event. Missing school. Somehow I graduated. Very fortunate. I had my own little lawn care business in grade 12, snow removal, lawn care, and by the time I was 20, I had gotten into some heavier things and lost my business, spent all my money, crashed my truck, lost all my equipment, and that was the first time I went to rehab. Made it 28 days in my first rehab. I knew then that I had a problem because I got out, and that day I took another drink. I just, in rehab, it's really easy to say, okay, I got this thing licked. I got it kicked now. But fact of the matter is, unless you truly use the tools they give you, you don't have anything licked. Temptation is huge. The devil is always at work trying to trick you back into thinking you can have one drink. You can use that drug one more time. You can't. So I bounced around Alcoholics Anonymous, Narcotics Anonymous for the last 10 years. My sister was the first one that told me about Teen Challenge. It's Christian-based, so that's not for me. I'm not a Christian, right? I believed in a higher power. What that was, I didn't know. It wasn't the Bible. I didn't think that was real. I didn't think Jesus was real. I pushed and pushed. And in Alcoholics Anonymous, you have to believe in a power higher than yourself, in God, right? And that was the only thing that I didn't accept. I didn't accept that into my life. And when I decided to go back to detox, April 5th was my date into detox. I was sobering up a little bit at my sister's, and I happened to punch in addiction on my phone, and Teen Challenge popped up, and I remember my sister telling me about it, and I thought, I was like, well, I mean, Christianity is the only thing I haven't done. I haven't found God. I haven't found something greater than myself yet, and filled out an application. I didn't expect a phone call back or text back or nothing. And the next day, Jason Lay called me, and he asked me a few questions, and he sent me this 32-page book on. It's basically a big list of things you can't do. So he said, okay, read it. So I spent an evening reading it, and he called me the next day, and he said, what do you think? And I said, well, that's a lot of things I can't do. And he said, well, you want to give it a shot? And something inside me was going, say yes, just say yes, just say yes. So I said yes, and I told him I was going to detox on the 5th, April 5th, and I'd be out in 14 days. And I gave him some contact information for my dad, my mom, my sister, the people who wanted to see me get help, and the people, my support system, I guess. So while I was in detox, he talked with my parents, and this is what he can bring, and this is what he can have, and so they packed my clothes and things like that, what I had left, anyways, and bought me a few new things, and my thoughts in detox were, when I get out, I have a little bit of money. A couple days, I'll use for a couple days, and then I'll go to Teen Challenge, and I'll kick this thing, right? I had a couple days left, and I was just thinking, that's not right. Something inside me told me, hey, tell on yourself. So I called my dad, and I said, yeah, this is what I'm planning to do. Can you help me? And he said, you bet. So I stayed a couple days extra in detox. When Dad came and picked me up, he pretty much put me in a headlock, and he wouldn't let go. He said, you're by my side until you get on that plane. I gave him my bank card. He had my phone, all my cash, everything. He had it all, right? He's a lot bigger than me, so there's no way I could get it back. And so I arrived to Teen Challenge on April 25th, scared. I'm afraid of the unknown and afraid that I'm never going to be able to use again. that was a huge part of my life. I did it every day. I thought I loved it. I thought that's how you get through life. But the fact of the matter is, it's not. I'm a child of God now. I completely submitted to the program. I submit to God. I believe there's more in store for me now. There is no more darkness. All I see is light. And it is so glorious to wake up every day and be able to say, I love myself. I can look at myself in the mirror and know who I am. I don't have shame. I don't have guilt. I'm not saying I'm perfect, but every day I can ask for forgiveness. And you're alive. You're living. And it's such a change compared to where I was. I have a huge support system. All my brothers, my family. I love each and every one of you guys, And I'm only 7 weeks in. So I got a ways to go. But I only have a year. So that's my story, and I'm going to keep pushing forward.
Thanks, Tyler. It's it can be really good. My journey through the program just got better and better and better because I was ready, and I can tell in your eyes that you're ready. You're ready for change. You're ready for new life, right? And it's true. It's gone. The past is gone. I read this story. There's this thing that keeps coming up that God keeps bringing up to me with my work and with my life, and it's just this idea that everyone matters, everyone matters, everyone matters. I walked into a church a year and a half ago in Trail, BC, and it was just right there on the big sign, everyone matters. I was like, oh, wow. Because I had that in my heart when I was younger. I remember I was the guy in high school that I wanted to be friends with everybody. I thought everybody should feel accepted. There was just this part of me that said, like, no one deserves to be alone. No one should be rejected. No one shouldn't be accepted. And then addiction just destroyed that part of my life, or that voice and that feeling and that desire for people to be accepted and loved, and for myself just went away for such a long time. And then I came into Teen Challenge, and I started a relationship with God, and I was reading this story, and I had to share this because this woman was studying faith and families and stuff, and she was sitting on a subway, and there was this homeless man sitting in the subway, and he had some chicken, and he was yelling, and every time somebody walked in, he offered them some food and said, "Come and sit with me," right? And she watched person after person come on and just kind of not even make eye contact and walk the other way, as many of us would, uncomfortable. And then this woman and her young daughter came on, and the man made the same offer. And the little girl looked at him, and she looked up at her mom, and then she nodded, and they went and sat down. And it was just this amazing moment where the little girl was learning this principle, right? Like, and she found out afterwards that she was a believer, that they were Christians. But she was looking up at her mom and saying, like, everyone matters, right, Mom? Like even him, right? And that's so powerful. It's and I see that every day. It's like everyone matters, even you, Julian, right? Even when it seems like you don't, even when life seems like it's rejected you, or that you don't matter, you do. And God is saying that to each and every one of us, that your life matters, it's worth living, right? I know that I'm running out of time. I'm gonna invite Jordan to come and speak. Jordan is graduating on July 27th. He's been with us for over a year. He's a wonderful man of God. He's learned a lot. He's constantly sharing about the things he's learned. He's got a teacher's heart. So here's Jordan.
All right. Yeah, before you accept anybody's teaching, you should know who's teaching you, I guess. I am crazy. I've always been crazy, but now I'm crazy for Jesus, right, or for God. My dad always knew I was crazy too, like growing up. Like we'd have these moments, we'd be camping, or I'd do something stupid, or I was always doing things that were stupid. I shouldn't say sometimes, and my sister too. But my sister, she would always sit with her arms crossed and just shake her head at me, right? And then I would know, and then like within seconds, my dad would look over to my mom and just be like, "You're egg." And I don't know, part of that becomes an encouragement for me now because I know that he played a part in it, and it wasn't as difficult as the part that my mom had. But what I'm learning, I guess, at Teen Challenge is you can have an injustice in your life, or you can have a perceived injustice. And it's a soft spot for me, I guess, with my dad, because what I perceived my dad as a kid was not the truth, but I didn't have anybody to affirm me or tell me that it wasn't. And a seed was planted through my own reasoning, right? And scriptures say, like, when I was a child, I reasoned like a child, right? And it hurts because I remember vowing that I would never be like my dad. And now I'm realizing that even if I tried, I would never even be close to anything that he is. And my healing is coming through that. But it's coming through this community and the brothers that I have here. And like Sam sharing about the gears and like the dump truck and all that, I have a similar experience. Like my dad had kind of the same thing going on. Like my grandfather is kind of old school. Well, he's definitely old school, but anyways. Like he grew up in like White River, and like there's, you know, like, I don't know, it was really poor, and he's a hard worker, and that's all he did. He was a workaholic, and he drank when he was younger, and he was never really there for my dad, and my dad and his brother were very close, because my grandpa was never present, you know, for him. My dad's brother has been in addiction for a long time, and he doesn't live in British Columbia. He lives in Alberta now, and that dynamic was affecting the family long before I was ever on the scene. And my grandpa realized that he kind of missed it with my dad, and my relationship with my grandfather is one of the best that I've ever had, and I love him dearly. And it kind of created this wedge, or what I thought, you know, between my dad and I, because it wasn't like a jealousy, but the relationship that I have with my grandfather, my dad was never able to have. And so, yeah, like my grandpa doesn't have good advice, like, ever. Like, yeah, like for example, he gave me a slingshot when I was like 5 years old, right? It starts with cans, and then it's birds, and then it's windows, right? And anyways, like my mom hates how close we are, right? But I realized, like I knew when I was a kid that there was more to life. I've always known that. Both my parents are believers, but they do things like it's more like a religion than it is a relationship. And growing up, I thought that the stories that my mom would tell me in the Bible, like they were read alongside fairy tales, right? And that's what I believe they were. I believe they were fairy tales. They didn't become real to me until I was 18, and I met this fellow by the name of Ken Thompson, and he began to disciple me and mentor me and give me a place to stay. But I was already way into my addiction at that point. And my grandpa, he started to push me away because he started to see the things that were going on in me that had happened, 35 years earlier with his son. And it wasn't an element of rejection, but communication has always been a difficult thing in our family. And like my dad is like that. He doesn't talk. So you never know what's going on. And I realize now that trying to read people's minds is a bad idea because you're always wrong. And you wouldn't know even if you were right anyways. I don't know why I thought that would work, but anyways, so I did that, right? And yeah, like mind reading does not help you. So now I'm trying to make sure I clarify in my relationships and making sure I'm in unity with the people I'm talking about, because I don't want to lead somebody else to believe something that's not true, and I don't want to believe something that I'm telling myself in my scripting up here that is not the case at all. And there's been a lot of freedom in that, and what's cool is God walks with you the whole time that you're doing that. But the last thing I want to share is, like, did God have servants or did he have children? Like with it being Father's Day. yeah, like, I mean, John, what was it, 1:12 or whatever, he's like, and then to those who did receive him, he gave them the right to become a servant of God. No, a child of God. It's a big difference. And my whole life, I was serving these earthly masters. And what I realized is serving an earthly master is entirely different than serving a heavenly master. And the difference is, when you're serving an earthly master, you're working for that master, however that may be. And you can do a good job or a horrible job. And yeah, like, it is what it is, right? But the difference with serving a heavenly master is he does the work through his servants, which is completely different. So I'm realizing that I need to be available and moldable. And it makes me think of Jeremiah 18:1-18, where he's talking about being the potter and the clay. And he's saying to Israel, like, you need to remain moldable. Go to this house and see, like, why can't you be like the clay, you know? And when you become a child, like that verse in John, you're accepted into a family. Like, a lot of the guys have talked about it already. But when you become a child, there's all these other great things that are attached to it, like being forgiven and set free and having the ability to choose life. And it's always been there, but it's like he takes that veil off, right? And when you accept that identity, it's different. See, like in addiction, I used to think that if I did things right, you know, like I was always working and trying to do all these things, and nothing would always fall short, or I'd try to read somebody's mind, and yeah, exactly, right? Like you try to read their mind, and then you're out in left field, and you think you're doing great, and then you bring that onto yourself, right? But with God, it's different, because you begin to live out of your identity of what is true, and then your behavior will follow afterwards, which is backwards or forwards. Deep. But really, that's become my reality. And like, my personality is, I need to figure everything out before I obey. Otherwise, this is not for me. Or like, I remember as a kid, I actually commanded God once. I was like, no, if you're real, show up, you know, somewhere over here, right here, and then I'll believe. Which is ridiculous now, but hilarious to me, because I realized that when I started to obey, that's when he started to give me the understanding. And what's cool is the understanding that he gives prevents you from being conceited. And constantly he breaks your heart over and over and over again, and that's why you serve him, or at least that's why I do. So I hope that's encouraging for you guys. Ecclesiastes 3 talks about there's a time for everything. And sometimes the things that we perceive to be bad are actually good. And the good news is it all ends and it comes out in the wash, which is one of my grandpa's favorite sayings. But there is a time for everything. I wrote things on my hand because I'm really bad at remembering stuff. It's not legible. So... so I'll just close with this. This is kind of funny because I like to be positive. My grandpa is a private pilot, I guess, or well, he's still a pilot. He's alive, but flies his airplane. He used to take me up when I was a kid, and there's like controls, you know, on two sides of the plane, and like this, I thought about this when Sam was sharing. But my grandpa used to like take me up when I was a kid. I'd be like 8 or 9 years old, and he would pretend to have a heart attack. Okay, and like I'd be like going in the plane, and same thing, like looking like you know, and he would draw it out, and like 10 seconds feels like 3 minutes when you're in a plane, like going however fast, right? And you're thinking, you're like 10, and you're like, what do I do? Like, do I jump out? Do I try to help him? Can you do CPR in a plane? I think, and you're like buckled in, and then I realize I don't know how to take the buckle off. Like, seriously, because like you're different in airplanes, right? Because I don't know. Anyways, so there was no, like I was parents accepted. I was like, well, that's it. And then he'd go, and he'd just take it and land it, right? And it's like, that's how God is with us, right? Like, we try to convince him that our problems are worth worth him getting concerned over. But he's just sitting there going, like, I don't fall off of my throne. And when you're ready to have my counsel, I will provide it, and I'll get you through it, and I'll land the plane. So thank you for having me up here.
Thanks, Jordan. Well, it's been really awesome to be with you this morning. Awesome to share this time with you, and I hope that some of the stories maybe hit home for a few people. I know that there's many different stories of addiction, and we all have different journeys. But I do want to say this one thing, is that our stories and our testimonies, they're not so different than yours. And for those people that haven't struggled with addictions, I mean, suffering is in all of our lives, pain and suffering and struggles and hardships. We are united as a body of believers by suffering, by Jesus Christ suffering for our sins, but also just by the suffering that we experience in our own lives. And so the journeys that we're on, I mean, we don't have to feel so different than us. We're connected as a body by suffering and by pain. And we have a God that can lead us and bring us freedom from all the things that are holding us back. Thank you for having us this morning. If you want more information, we have open chapel on Wednesday, 9 a.m. I know it's a little bit of a drive, but please, if you're in the area or you want to come by for a visit, come out. The doors are open, and I mean this. Bring your friends, bring your family. We have lots of seats. We have coffee. It's good. You can have a tour. You can see the guys. We worship. We hear a message. We'd love to see you there. We have events and stuff. We have opportunities to volunteer, to get involved. If you're already a partner with us or a sponsor, thank you. We couldn't do this without you. Thank you for everything you're doing for us. Thank you for your prayers, your belief, your referrals, sending guys our way when they're in trouble. I mean, keep it coming. We have open beds, and there is a lot of pain and struggles out there in addiction. We want to help. We want to open our doors and give hope to every addict that's within our reach. So yeah, if you would like to come talk to me afterwards, I'll be by the table. But thank you for your time this morning. Joey.
Amen. Well, I hope you're encouraged by that. God is at work, and God can just transform any life. That's just the powerful thing about, God just transforms lives. That's his business, and that's what he does. And so